Hello everyone, welcome to Travel Explore Celebrate Life between our world. I'm Neil Patil, your host. And today we have a very special guest. We have Sajid Khan with us. Sajid Khan happens to be a very close friend of my dad's, and also I would say professionally, all of the travel industry today knows him as the country manager for Fiji Airways, India and the Middle East. But before Fiji Airways, Sajid was also a champion at South African Airways. Then before that, it was Emirates. And then before that, it was KLM. So Sajid, of course, welcome to Travel Explore Celebrate Life, first of all. But in the aviation industry, everyone thinks you're a champion at aircrafts, airlines, flights, and everything. But in a recent meeting with you, you told me that your real passion, yes, is in the air, is flying, but it's not that, it's paragliding. So how did this passion for paragliding come about? Like, how did you get into paragliding?
Yeah, so as the saying goes, that once you have tasted flight, you'll always walk with your head held up to the sky. So that's the bug that bit me. But let me first thank you, Neil, for inviting me over to your podcast. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. So really, thank you from the bottom of my heart to invite me and
No, thank you for coming. Like, we are super happy
it's absolutely
you
my
are here.
pleasure. And you introduced me as your dad's friend because your dad and I, Mr. Sajid Patil, I've got immense respect for him, and he and I have been sharing the dais on many of interviews and interactions with the press and the media before with my previous stints. And we've always had discussions on where we've shared our stories about travel and industry and everything else that goes along with tours. And for me to take him to Fiji and share my experience with him about travel and then hear from him was immensely a valuable lesson for me, and I'll share with you a little bit later. But yes, flying is very, very important to me. And if you see my bio on most of the things on social media, it's always about flying, and it's either been in a helicopter or a plane or a paraglider or even a dream. It's all about flying. And yeah, so that's my passion, and that's why also in the industry.
Awesome. So Sajid, let's get into it. For a novice like me, or for an amateur like me, I've heard of terms like paraglide. Then there is parasail, then there's hang gliding, then there's skydiving. Now, people often use these interchangeably. And, nowadays on Instagram, you're also seeing people in a flight suit and flying through mountains and valleys and everything. So as a passionate paraglider, how would you describe these differently? Like, just if you can throw some light on that.
Sure. I think it's various degrees of being a nutcase. So when I look at the wingsuit guys who are doing the proximity flying to the terrain, I think they are mad. And when I see skydivers, I see they're a little bit less mad. So it's in that intensity. So paragliding is mad when people see it. And mostly what people think about is when we say paraglide, it's like, we just jump off a hill and then we just hang on to dear life, and wherever the glider takes us, we go. And that's not the story. So let's start with the basics. So parasail is basically what you do over water, where you're towed by either a boat or on land by a jeep, and then it's just a big round parachute which just is causing resistance and making you float in the sky. So it just gives you altitude.
Correct.
And you get an overview of the sea or the land wherever you are. Paragliding is basically, as the name mentions, it's gliding. The paraglider is designed to glide. So we take off, we don't jump, we don't dive, we take off from a hill, and we use the updrafts, the thermals, to climb and go to cloud base. So once we are at the cloud base, then we go to the next cloud. So while going to the next cloud, we lose height. It glides. As it glides, it loses height. We go to the next cloud, we find the updraft under that cloud, and we climb up again to that cloud base. And that's how we travel.
Okay, so there's not a continuous descent, is it?
So if you even attach a sack of potatoes instead of the pilot to the paraglider and launch it, it will glide down eventually.
Yeah.
Right. The idea over here is to get into the air. You've seen these kites soar.
Yes.
Yeah, they go around in circles. They're not flapping their wings, but they're climbing.
Yeah.
So the earth the sun heats the earth, the air around the earth, around the rock, hut, whatever's heated up, heats up the air around it. That thing rises. And as it rises, it cools and expands. As it cools, it comes to a point where, depending on the amount of humidity it has in it, it forms a cloud.
Okay.
Right. So basically, that's the whole point. So once it forms a cloud, the cold air then descends around it. It's like a trunk of a tree. So the warm air rises in the center, and then the cold, as it goes up, becomes cold, comes down around it, and again, the whole cycle repeats itself. And that's how clouds are formed. So we are looking for this small fluffy clouds. We call it cloud street. So if we see clouds over there, we just go hop on from one cloud to the other. Go to a cloud base, glide to the next cloud, and climb. So people have done 600, 700 kilometers on this, the champions.
Oh, wow. So how long would you be up in the air?
I have done about 7 hours in the air. And
7 hours in the air?
106 kilometers.
Okay, so do you have your water bottle or something that you can...
We have everything. We have some snacks, some dry fruits or something. We have water. There's also a system to pee because it's pretty cold up there in Himachal.
So, you know, I had a chance to do it in South Africa when I was doing the garden route. And I think, I don't remember the place, but I had a chance to do it over there. Yes, maybe it was that. And of course, that was like a tandem paraglide, right? There was someone with me. And it was about a 20-minute or 25-minute ride. And it was very stable. It wasn't like you're wobbling around and everything.
Yeah. So it depends on turbulence also, right? It's sometimes in turbulence, it gets a little bit rough, just like any other aircraft. But usually it's stable, and we want to keep the passenger happy. Unless you go with me, because I'll make you taste some little acro. So I do all three forms of the sport. I am an acro paraglider, I'm an XC paraglider, and I also do tandems. So I'm waiting for you to come in November to Kamshit so I can take you flying, and we go live, Insta live from there, because the coverage is there. I usually call people from the air and I have a chat with them while I'm flying.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
you mentioned Kamshit, so I'll interrupt you over there.
Sure.
Now, paragliding in India or any adventure sports in India are often looked at that, India mein karna chahiye kya? Is it safe enough? So what are the different places that you would say are good for like people who want to just experience paragliding, like tandem paragliding? Like you do it in Kamshit, and are there other places, or this is the go-to place?
So I do tandem. So four of our friends have bought a tandem paraglider together, so that our friends and family can enjoy flying. They necessarily don't need to learn. So they just want to come for a flight, take them in the evening flight or a morning flight, show them around, show the sunset, and then we land. But there is commercial paragliding, tandem paragliding happening in Kamshit. There are 4 schools over there. They also do tandem paragliding at a cost. You can find this in Uttarakhand. You can find this in Himachal, Manali. I'm not very keen on Manali because it's mainly commercial. And what happens in Kamshit is we are very strict on safety. We look at each other. We look at people who come on the hill to fly. So we always keep an eye out for if anybody's. We want passengers to come with shoes. We make sure our equipment is checked before we take off. There are 2 people who check our equipment and all the safety features of if safety links are there or not. And usually it's very safe in Kamshit. But again, it's an adventure sport, and it also depends where you do it in India. There have been instances where people have been hurt and people have had some mishaps. But those are, again, related to the pilot and not to the equipment, not to the design of the glider. Equipment failure, again, is the pilot's responsibility. So I would say overall, it's very safe if you go with people who you know, who have a track record. So in Kamshit, all the schools who do this are really safe. Nice. So you can be rest assured that you're coming to a proper place. You have an indemnity bond that you sign, and you take off and you land. It's really, we don't take risks like that.
Okay, I remember a time, Sajid, when I wanted to get a skydiving license because I was like, tandem maza nahi aata hai. Maybe we should do it. And I had explored everything that, not that I went out and did it, but of course, to get a skydiving license, you need to do a certain number of dives and everything. So when it comes to paragliding, is it also the same? You have a license?
So, it's a very good question. What has happened is now there's a lot of regulation that's coming in by ourselves. we are a fraternity of pilots who want to use this to put some system and sense into place. There's a lot of lobbying happening with the Maharashtra government as well as at the center, where the Aerosports Authority of India, and a lot of my friends and colleagues are part of this effort. Even me for some time. We have I would say a list of rules and a body called the APPI, which is now responsible for, it's a French body, which regulates and says that, okay, if somebody has done the first course, that means this is what is expected out of him. So every school could have a different, idea or different level. So to put that into a streamline, we have come to that now. Okay. There is also the Paragliding Association of India, PAI, which is a body that is India based, and they also they are a governing body also. So licenses that we get are from IPPI and APPI, but now APPI body is the one which is regulated in India now.
Okay.
Or regularized in India. So we are looking at that.
You mentioned a number of places around India where paragliding takes place. So if a traveler like me were to go to any of these places, it's better to just check whether these guys have a license or not, right?
It is in process. So maybe not everybody would have that.
Okay.
See, wherever there is commercial, where the people are running up and down to, to make that money and make that 10-minute flight.
Yeah.
I would say think twice. But where you have, people are paying attention and waiting for the right conditions to come and then take off, and you can see the equipment is nice. That is basically safe. So this is still a work in progress. Not everybody has license. Like I have a license. I've given exams and I've got a senior level license. My friends have licenses, but not many tandem operators have licenses, but they have extreme good experience. Some of them have been my gurus. So I've learned from them. So it is still a process. It's a work in progress. Let me just say that. But it's a beginning.
Yeah, it's like how scuba diving, like you would look for a PADI school, right? And if you don't have a PADI certification, then you won't go scuba diving with that school.
I would suggest people look for that license. It's a very valid point, Neil. That's really nice. People should look for the license and ask for the license. That's how we will come to a more safer way out.
Well, listeners, as Sajid has said, that if you are going paragliding not only in India but anywhere in the world, you are still doing an adventure sport, and you're signing a form which says that, oh, if something happens to you, the company is not going to be responsible through which you have booked this. So just look for a license. It just takes 5 minutes and there's no harm in asking. So Sajid, would you there are sports that are cheap, there are sports that are expensive. And I know that skydiving is an expensive sport. Scuba diving can be expensive because then you want to buy your dive computer, everything. I play golf. Often people call it an expensive sport. I think it becomes expensive only if you start gambling on the cost, getting the equipment. Okay, get second-hand equipment and it's fine. Would you call paragliding an expensive sport if I were to do it repetitively?
I think more than expense, it is the time.
Okay.
That you should think about. You need passion to fly. You need to get hooked on. You need that bug to bite you. You need to. It is like golf. Like I've seen golfers who are like crazy about golf and they want to play everywhere. My friend plays twice a day in Dubai. He recently came down. He said like, I'm stopped working. I want to play twice a day. So it is like any other passion. But yes, let's talk about the cost. So the course is based on P1, P2, and P3, which should give you, by the time you finish your P3, should give you solo flying under instructions. So the P1 course is a 3-day course, and you'll get a solo flight on the first course itself on the 3rd day, and it'll just be a top to bottom flight, and that's about 15,000-20,000 is what I think. On different schools have different rates. And you can then progress slowly over the course of time and finish even advanced courses. So on an average, think about 25,000-30,000 a course, right? And then you can do it on your leisure time whenever you are free, and come back and stay current on it. And maybe, you can take a break for a month or week and come back and, restart. Then you can also start flying on your own under instructions. The cost of the equipment is, a paraglider comes anywhere between 1.5 lakhs to 2 lakhs.
Okay.
That's just a paraglider. Then you need the harness. That's about 50,000 to a lakh, depending you want the budget one or you want the Mercedes or the BMW kinds. Then there is an emergency rescue parachute that comes in. That's about 50, 60,000. And then you have various equipments, like you got the variometer, which tells you you're going up and down, which direction you're going, what's the wind speed, what's the wind direction. It gets complicated, like the dive computer, it can get complicated. Then we have,
I guess, long story short, it's like, let's start with tandem paragliding. And then,
if you're interested, then it's a slow increase in equipment. And but tandem is an experience that you can take and understand whether you want to fly or not, want to do this or not. So
maybe like when we do it in November, we could probably have a meeting up in the air, like, discussing Veena World and Fiji Airways and what we are going
I'm going to do a simple tandem flight for you first. And then we'll start getting into a little bit of acro to see whether you like the acro or not. Oh, well, so it gives you a little bit of G's. And you need to have a little bit tolerance for G's. Not too much, but a little bit.
Well, adrenaline is something that I really like. So why
you like it?
Well, that's good. So we've spoken about paragliding. Now let's come to, professionally, you work at Fiji Airways, right?
That's right.
And like we said at the start, of course, Fiji Airways, South African, Emirates, KLM, you are an airline guy, but you call yourself more of a travel guy than an airline guy, right? So when we talk about travel and when we talk about Fiji, we'll talk about Fiji Airways, but let's talk about Fiji. Now, many people when in India who are pitched an idea that, you should go travel to Fiji, an instant reaction and a very frank reaction is that, why should I go to Fiji when I have Maldives right here? And that's a comparison, because Fiji has always been a destination, clear, crystal blue waters, and you're going to have your own villa and everything. So what's your take on Fiji? You've been there multiple times, and you've been there with my father too, and he also loved it. And you can probably bring in that trip of yours also, because you all had great experiences. But what's your take on Fiji?
So I've been to Maldives, I've been to Fiji. And honestly, if you want to see water, there's water even there. You can go to Alibag and you get water there.
Yeah.
But now, what's the difference? See, in Maldives, I'm not dissing Maldives for any reason. I think it's a great destination, and I have also loved it. But Maldives is one island, one resort. It's flat, right? Fiji is a country. So Fiji's got the blue waters. You've got various Hollywood movies shot over there, like Castaway, Tom Hanks, the Lost series, the Survivor series. A lot of other Hollywood action movies have been shot there. Some of our Indian movies have been shot there. So it has got a range of things to do. So it's got hills, it's got rivers, it's got the sea, it's got culture. The largest Subramaniam temple in South Pacific is based in Fiji. They have their markets. They have their own rugby team, which is very, very famous and popular for the Rugby 7. They've been winning. So it's a mix of a lot of things. So you just don't go and stay in a villa and surrounded by water, but you can also do a lot of other things. You have you can go by a kayak through the river into villages which are based inside. So there are about 333 islands, out of which some of them are inhabited. And there's also pearl culture farming, and there is a place called Cloud9, which is basically like a boat which is parked in the middle of the sea. And you have a pizza counter, you have a bar, you have slides going into the water. So cruise boats will come drop you there. You spend the whole day over there. You jump into the water, come back, eat your food. Everything's on that, and there's nothing around you. No land. But the other way, it's also true that you can drive from, let's say, Suva to Nadi. It's a 3-hour drive across the island. You can experience the culture. You can local food, local culture. There is a golf course. So there are a lot of things that can be done, and just not water and water sports.
So we can park aside this misconception that, you're going to get only crystal clear waters over there, but there's all of these experiences that you can also do. Now, I'll come to the experiences, but I want to first start with how do you get to Fiji? Because working at Fiji Airways here, many people if you were to just stop someone on the road, and ask that, oh, have you heard of Fiji Airways? It is often thought of that this is a very small airline. But I am an like aviation enthusiast. I like plane spotting, and here sitting at Veena World office, we see planes landing in like every minute into the airport. So I know that your fleet is not a small fleet, because you have two A350s, and A350s are the most, I would say, efficient, newest aircrafts in the world today. Then you have five A330s, some which are the 200 model, some which are the 300. You have you have five Boeing 737s. Again, some of them, the older 737s and the newer 737s. And then you also have Fiji Link, which is like a sister aircraft with its ATRs. And then you have the De Havilland Canada DHC-6, which aviation enthusiasts really like. With so many aircraft and all of that, for such a small country, of course, you're connecting the places around. But for an Indian traveler to get to Fiji, how do you get to Fiji?
Wow, you've done your homework, Neil. This is my dream. I want the travel agents in India and in Middle East and Sri Lanka to really understand the way you've understood everything. And it's always a difficult task for me to go and explain. So whenever you say in an island nation, people think it's a twin turbo kind of a propeller plane. And they think, how does it come so far? First of all, you got to tell them where Fiji is. Then you'd say, okay, it's near Australia, New Zealand. And then how did you come all the way here? Then when we tell them, this is the aircrafts that we have, the A350s, and we've just placed the order for another 3 A350s, and that is usually followed by respect. And then it comes into like, oh, you've got big aircrafts and you're a proper airline. So then we show them pictures of a proper, because the problem is that, the aircraft has not landed in India and people have not really seen the library. So how you get there is we have a code share from India, and we have two gateways, which is Singapore and Hong Kong. Okay. We also have Japan, but Japan becomes a little bit further away. Further down, but Singapore and Hong Kong is something that really works for us. So we used to have code share with Jet Airways earlier. Now we have code share with Air India. Okay. And we have interline agreements with Singapore Airlines and with Cathay Pacific. Okay. So, and these interline agreements are the whole agreement, which means you don't need, your checked baggage will be through checked. Obviously with the code share Air India,
otherwise it becomes a pain just checking, taking your bags and checking in again.
So the same thing is applicable with the Middle East also. And we want to extend our interline agreement with Singapore Airlines and Cathay Pacific from the Middle East over. That's how you connect. Now, what I would suggest is it gives us an opportunity to take a break in Singapore or Hong Kong. What we've really seen is that we arrive into Singapore and Hong Kong early in the morning. And then our departure of Fiji Airways is in the evening. So we have about 11 to 12 hours to kill. And what we did when I went with your father and the other stalwarts of our industry is we took a break in Singapore and we went to Universal Studios. We had lunch, an extensive lunch. And then we went to the studio. We saw the aquarium. We saw the dolphin show. And we spent the time, we didn't know how that time went through, and then we were back at the airport to take the flight to Nadi. What happened in Nadi is a different thing, but so this is how
it was like a great trip. I heard, because you all had experience after experience, and everyone came back in love with Fiji. And whenever we go for some airline event or like a tourism board event, whenever my father and everyone else meets, they only talk about this trip, and I'm like, wow, this trip may have been something super interesting.
So I think for me, these are my gurus in the industry. These are really the stalwarts who have really guided me and always been kind to me in the industry, whichever airline I've been working for, including your father. These are the people who have got 50-60 years of experience of travel. And this time was the first time they are traveling to a destination for the first time. They're doing something for the first time in their lives. And it was mind-blowing for me too.
So what are some of the experiences that you had as part of this trip? I mean, that listeners also can jot them down, right?
The moment we arrived into Fiji, there was this reception committee for them. And there was also, when you go to the immigration, there are these two guys who have a guitar and singing. And the first thing they tell you is you're on Fiji time. Forget your phones, forget your emails. You're just decompress and chill. Everything is easy.
Yeah.
And then we went to start our trip, and we went over to Tony, who was our host at that time over there. And he took us across and explained everything. Everybody was relaxed. And I was finding that a little, we didn't check into a hotel, but everybody was very happy to be there.
Yeah.
And then on, we went by boat to island, and we stayed there. And then by helicopter to a private island, we stayed over there and went to an island to do snorkeling and diving. And we went to the local village where they welcomed us, the whole community, like a panchayat. They have that over there. So they all came and welcomed us. We had a kava ceremony. Kava is a traditional drink that they have, which is made up of the ginger root. It gives you a little bit of a high if you drink a lot. So we all did that ceremony, and everybody participated, including your father. We had to wear that their traditional costume. It's like a lungi. You wear that and you sit down, and it's an elaborate affair. From that to really enjoying events later on with Fiji Airways over there. One thing I noticed about your father, which I have to mention over here, Mr. Sudhir Patil. I have interacted with him before, but never so closely. And what I realized is that he is truly a traveler, and he is truly a businessman. And you need to learn. I mean, I learned from him. What I learned is, you be it a hotel, be it an aircraft, be it a tour, he would interact with the local people. He would go talk to them. He would spend time, ask them questions as to how does this happen? What do you do? What does this entail? For example, the guy who was singing, welcoming us up, he would shoot, he would wait over there, wait for it to finish, and then really smile and talk to them and make their, just not walk through. You're just welcoming. What do you talk? You're just singing. Correct. But he would wait. He would talk. Like he would go to a hotel. He would ask questions. How many rooms does it have? What do you do? What do you cook? Who's the chef? How does this happen? How does that happen? I can see things working in his mind. Okay, what will my guest do over here? What can I make it? What do I need to remember? And also, as a gentleman, right? Paying attention to smaller things, talking to people, making them feel comfortable, thanking them. He was always the last person to come out because he's busy talking to somebody. Yeah.
So, I think that's trickled down in all of us at Veena World also, because put in all of that research, because end of the day, like you rightly said, the guest has to have a very good experience, because that value for money should definitely,
Look, it's evident from the way you conduct your business, the way you have your branches open up. I was telling your dad that, now it's more like, Veena World say right lena. It's not, it's not McDonald's.
I'm glad
it's
you
not
say
Burger
that.
King say right lena. Veena World say up right lena. So it's amazing. And I see the camaraderie. I see your staff. I see the uniforms that you wear, and the amount of time and effort that you put into making your staff feel happy. It just trickles down, like you rightly said.
Awesome. Sajid, now let's draw that connection to paragliding with Fiji, right? Because these are your two loves, let's say. That's right. At this point in time. So, one, can you paraglide in Fiji, or similar to paragliding, like which gives you that adrenaline and everything? What are some of the things you can do in Fiji?
So first thing that you can do in Fiji is you can go skydiving.
Okay.
And helicopters is just parked on the side of the road, and it's not.
Yeah.
You can just see the helicopter. It's easy. Like I said, you decompress over there. You just go up and you jump and you dive into the golf course, which is the Denera golf course. And then it's as easy as that. Then you can actually go diving under the sea, which is Jacques Cousteau, if you know. Jacques Cousteau has been the father of diving, and he's done many programs on, TV and research. And so he has his own resort over there. His son runs it. So it's a great place for diving. Something I noticed is when I went snorkeling over there, the fish are damn friendly. I don't understand that. I've snorkeled everywhere. Snorkeled in Muscat, in Dubai, and in Abu Dhabi, in a lot of other places. Yeah. But the fish over here because conservation of corals is a big thing. Yeah. And conservation of environment is a big thing for Fiji, and also for Fiji Airways. So there is construction of corals happening at Malolo Islands, where we were staying. And there's one particular fish in a group of fish that would come, and I would recognize the fish because it had a little mark on the center over here. Someone had bitten. That guy would just come all the time. Wherever I go, it would come. So amazing things like that. You can see a whale, you can see sharks, you can see, and it's just there. And what I noticed, two things about colors. The color of the water over there, the blues that you see, I've never seen in my life. And at sunset, the sky turns purple.
Oh, wow.
Over there for some reason. I don't know why. I've got pictures. So connecting now to paragliding, there is one guy who has flown on the beach, not really proper paragliding, but there are a lot of hills. And I've been telling my friends over here, let's go, let's go, let's go. So I'm probably next time when I go to Fiji, I'm probably going to carry my glider and going to.
Are you going to try it?
There. Yeah, I'll probably be the first one to go fly from a hill. So yeah.
Wow.
Looking forward to that.
I would like to see that. Well, speaking of that, and as we reach the end of the episode, I generally ask two questions.
Sure.
One is, what are two things that are on your bucket list? Because on Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life, we are talking about bucket list items. Sunila once spoke about a hotel in Oman where you can just like paraglide or paraglide check-in, like, you know, so you have to jump out of the plane and then paraglide into a hotel and then you check in, something like that. So what are two things that you have on your bucket list?
Honestly, I want to get a PPL.
Okay.
And I have landed a 737 MAX in a simulator. And
so listeners, PPL, aka
private pilot's license.
Yeah,
sorry, private pilot's license. That's always been my dream.
So you said a 737 is what you want to...
737 MAX is something that I've landed in a simulator.
In a simulator,
and the people with your father.
Yeah.
On the seat next to me.
Yeah.
And they were asking, the people who were running the simulator kept asking me if I'm a pilot. I said, no. He said, you know so much. I said, yeah, I know because of my passion, but I've never done this before. But I landed the plane and I was like very happy. So I want to really get a PPL, private pilot's license.
So do you think you'll do that in India? Well, I see Cessnas landing all the time.
Yeah. So Bombay Flying Club is now shut for private flying here. You have to go to Dhule to get that license. So I'm probably thinking maybe I'll stay in Fiji for a month and get my license done.
Oh, might as well.
Or go to US and get it done. So, but that's that. I've spoken to my daughter and she says, you've got to do it. You've always been talking about it. Just do it.
Yeah, I think the US is the best place, right? My friend said that you can get a license in the US so easily because there are just runways everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. Just take off, land, and that's what people end up doing.
So I think in a month's time you can get that done. So I always wanted to become a pilot right from the start.
Yeah.
So I want to do that. And the second one is I want to go on a trip to Europe and US, like a long 1-2 month trip. And
that's a luxury that most of us just can't.
And that will be only for food.
Oh, for food.
Yes, I want to try all the stuff that I've seen, especially Michelin star restaurants.
Yeah, I was recently in San Sebastian, which has the highest number of Michelin star restaurants, given the location that it is in. And I did get a chance to go to one, which was a place called Mirador de Olia.
Oh,
incredible,
right?
Yeah,
incredible. Your thought about food completely changes when you go there.
It's like the science behind it. When you understand the science behind what is made and not just look at the plate and say that, the quantity is not too much. And then, I expected more. So that completely changes. One final question, Sajid, like tell us listeners, viewers on YouTube, that two things you have done that listeners should definitely have on their bucket list and could be anything.
Two things that I have done. I think everyone should try their hand at diving. Paragliding, because the world down there is completely different. That's not something that you're aware of. The colors, the sights, the whole feeling. And the second thing was definitely to try paragliding, because the feeling that you get is the same as what the birds feel. There's no power, there's no engine, there's no sound. You hear and smell and taste the air that the birds feel and exactly what they see.
Yeah.
And what a cloud feels like when you get into a cloud, what the cloud smells like, and it's not nice.
Well, that November plan of ours is seeming super fun. Hopefully we can make that work.
Yeah, we'll do Sajid, a short
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but Sajid, thanks a lot for coming on Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life. Any parting thoughts, as we end the episode?
Yeah, so I really want to, first of all, Neil, thank you really again from I really mean this, for getting me on this and for able to share what we are passionate about. You are passionate about food and travel and me too. And I I really want to tell you that I've had experiences before, and I'm not just saying because you've been our work, but I've got good responses and good reviews on when the way you take care of your team takes care of your passengers. So yeah, so thank you very much, and please keep up the good work. And I'm really honored to be on this show and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Listeners and viewers, thank you so much for tuning in to Travel Explore Celebrate Life by Veena World. This is goodbye from Sajid and me, Neil, and we will see you again sometime on another episode of Travel Explore Celebrate Life. Until then, take care. Ciao. Have a great one. Bye.
Bye-bye.